Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. This is a show where we aim to educate, inspire and entertain through real life stories and interviews from people in the Scottish property community.
As always, thanks for listening and give us a follow on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to join us at our monthly networking events on the first Wednesday of every month. Tickets are available on our website. So without further ado, we'll just cut straight into this week's podcast. Stephen Gallagher, thanks very much for coming on the Scottish Property Podcast. Welcome.
Great to see you, Nick. How you doing? Great to see Stephen. Happy birthday, Stephen.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
40, mate. You don't even look 30, son. Make me feel like an old man.
Appreciate
that. All the
Certainly
fancy motors out in the car park today. Stephen's rolled up in his Ferrari. Stephen Clark's got his new farmer's motor out there as well.
It's like a Defender, yeah. Very nice.
So you guys, maybe we'll leave you to talk about cars for a couple of minutes later on in the podcast. But first of all, Stephen, a big thank you from me personally, because you've set up SAS Scotland, which I think is a fantastic network, and I appreciate you. The length you've gone to set up that network, and personally, I found it hugely beneficial, because the difference is, rather than going to a room and sitting there looking at a PowerPoint presentation, you have set it up so we're actually going round people's live projects. Obviously, the latest one up in Stirling with Neil is fucking phenomenal, to be honest with you. So I came away with that with huge inspiration, so much so that I've now set up my SAS.
Whee.
So I've signed the dotted line. The pressure's on to actually buy a fucking property now.
Yeah.
So
they are brilliant. They're really good. They're good events, mate. Really well done.
Oh, no, thanks very much for that. So I set it up a few years back for a couple of the pension administrators down south had said there wasn't a Scottish outlet, and they were seeing people maybe do some things that were a bit daft, like loads of unsecured loans or try to pile money into real estate when it's residential. It doesn't quite work. So I think having that site-based stuff, I believe in all ships rise with the tide, Nick, right? And that's been good. And you're seeing guys that are collaborating as well, and folks that are working with one another. And I think all of our town centres in Scotland need regeneration. Then pension money doing commercial projects to fulfil market demand is actually not a bad way of doing it. So it's got a commercial focus and a real estate focus. We don't talk about foreign exchange, crypto, or any of these other esoteric things that I don't understand. But I do like real estate.
you always get a good feed at it as well. That's what I like about it. You always
you try to say I'm needing to lose some more timber.
Well, I am certainly, but no. So huge benefit to that, and huge value that you bring. So keep doing that. But you're a busy man, Stephen. We're going to touch on your own property investing as well. You know, you've bought buildings now. I think you've got, is it 3 commercial buildings that you've just bought in the last couple of years?
Yeah.
So we'll touch on all that and how they're working for you. You were saying, you know, Hamilton's fully let and you're not, you know, you're turning people away and all that stuff. Bring us back though to where did you start your career and what did you do?
Right. 52 this Saturday, like starting to look at and feel it, I'm telling you.
But like you said, about Sean Connery look like there as well.
Sean Connery's fat stunt double, man. Like that. So I started my career, I was an aerospace engineering graduate at Glasgow, which sounds really glamorous. And I thought that would be a great degree. I wanted to be a pilot, right? And I thought it'd be a really good degree, but it was really difficult sums for 4 years. That's all it was. And it was a wee bit boring. And a bit of a grind. But I got a graduate position with British Aerospace, who were a great employer to work with as a young man. And worked in the Clyde, where they were building new warships for the Navy. On the Type 23 programmes, loads of fun in there and laughs and stuff, but quite poor wages, to be honest, at the time. And I was wanting to buy a house and all that. My old man was working in oil and gas industry, and he got me a move into oil and gas at Aberdeen as a contractor in a systems engineering house, because I'd been on a really good graduate chartered engineer training programme, and then I worked all over the world with oil and gas with a company called Capel Rig, who were a great mob to work for out of Brigadon. 1970s startup, sold their business for double-digit millions there.
What did they do then, Stephen?
What's that, mate?
What did they do?
They were systems engineering company, and they did a lot of work on PLCs, SCADA, robotics, early stuff, both offshore and onshore. Right. So I worked with South Korea, Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and I ran a job in Abu Dhabi with the Water and Electricity Authority when I was quite young. So you've worked in that game, Steve, you know what it's like. Loads of guys my age now in their 50s who like to swally, try to get them out of their bed in the morning to go on site to get stuff done. So that was good fun. And then for there, I met a couple of the large consultancies that were on big jobs, worked with them, and then quite an eclectic direction from there, which took me into banking and finance. And I've been at senior levels in banks for a good number of years now. So in my previous kind of a stable, Royal Bank of Scotland, Bank of Scotland, Lloyds, Cooperative Group twice down in Manchester, Tesco Bank. I've done quite a bit of work with John Lewis Financial Services as well, usually going in as a transformation director to help with growth primarily. So good. Normally you're called in for a good reason.
So that's the day job. Let's now look at the kind of personal property investing and building the wealth effectively, and that using that pension money for long term. So the pension money in the SAS that you invest with, was that built up just through the years of working in your day job then?
I had
that pot?
a final salary pot, right, that I transferred. So why did I get into it at first? So I've always been a wee bit of a player in real estate. I'm quite quiet on socials, right? So I don't go out and shout about it a lot, but I bought first wee flat with other people's money, i.e. 100% for the bank. It was a graduate mortgage back in the 90s. You take in with your suit on with your dad, meet the bank manager and sign up for it. But they gave me 100% mortgage and I went, that's quite good. And then started buying some stuff with bonuses and things when I was coming back for the golf. So we built up a nice wee portfolio, paid a few of them down and off, and then expanded there. So the resi stuff's doing okay. And then I'd seen my old man, unfortunately, pass away. No long after he would be taking his pension.
What did he do?
Worked in North Sea for years. He was an old tiger, as they call them. Shell and Wood Group and various other big employers. So he had quite a high pension entitlement, including a final salary scheme, which then he unfortunately died of cancer pretty quickly after retirement.
What age?
70, right? So you'd see, decent number coming in every month, half that going to my mum. I'm thinking that scheme was worth over £1 million, and that will disappear when my mum passes on. Although my gran was 97 when she went, so hopefully my mum will be around for a few years to get her money's worth.
As it does, it's the wake-up call, because I remember having that conversation with you a few years ago.
Aye.
It's the wake-up call when you look at what you're doing with your pension and what you're doing with your future. And
so can we just put that in kind of bog standard layman's terms for somebody a bit challenged like myself? So like with a normal employer's scheme, if you're paying into a scheme, you've got a private company that you work for in the corporate world or something like that, the idea behind the pension is eventually, well, when you die, what happens to it?
They will essentially die with you and perhaps pay out a terminal benefit, right? But money purchase schemes or final salary schemes are the two kind of terms, right? So money purchase schemes is what the vast majority of people have now, where you don't know what you're going to get at the end. You'll have a pot there and it'll be subject to somebody investing for you in the stock market and charging you fees to do it. Broken back, that's in simple terms. The final salary schemes used to give guys a guaranteed income at the back end, and that might be based on time served, so it might have been over 60 or so. Work out your number of years in that you've been in the business, divide it by 60 and calculate against your final salary, and that would have been a decent number for folks. But those pensions had a large transfer value. Pension freedoms came in after my father passed away, 2014. And I was just ignoring it and saying, what am I going to do? And then I remembered he said to me, you can't let your bill, we've got a pot there, you can't let it go like mine. So I started looking at the SAS stuff, and I eventually moved it in 2020, moved quite a chunky sum across, and said, right, I think I can beat the guys in the stock market. Why are they, if I just put money into exchange traded funds and park it with a fund manager, he's charging me 2%, right, when I can get fees of less than 1/10 doing it myself, putting it into the same fund.
Okay, so again, tracker. Just for the people who are starting out, the SAS, again, if you don't know, this is where, well, what does the SAS stand for, first of all?
Small self-administered scheme, which is a occupational pension scheme. You need to have a trading business that goes alongside it, right? So it is a great tool for wealth building and for generational wealth transfer. So if you've got a trading business, which you have through your...
I'm a letting agent, so I've got my letting agency business.
That business can have an occupational pension scheme, which could be a SIP or a SAS, but a SAS is more powerful. You've set yours up. You can make contributions into that from profit and avoid, very legally, paying corporation tax because you can shield it through your pension. So that's great. And then you can get control of that pot. You can do a loan to your business through as a sponsor employer with appropriate security, or you can deploy it into stocks and shares, other investments, or real estate. And real estate is a particular lens that I do quite a bit of investment in with mine.
Yeah, so one of the attractions for me was obviously, like you say, pay less tax. Secondly, the kind of passing it on to the next generation.
The fact that the SAS is, let me jump in, is acts as a trust, isn't it? It's it's not classed as part of your estate and not liable for inheritance tax.
So I've got 3 kids, so I'm thinking their future. What about you? Have you got family?
I've got two lads, right? And you can make them trustees when they're of age. So mine's are 21 this year and 17, so they will become trustees. Eldest lad's doing a degree in finance, investment and risk, so he's pretty switched on.
He'll be running that family pension pot.
Ideally, mate, that's what we want to get to. And you can have up to 11 trustees in it. And like the Dukes of Westminster and various others who have enduring wealth in a trust fund, entirely legal and legitimate.
And this is not, like you say, this is not a new thing. A SAS pension has been going on
for the 70s, I think.
70s, yeah, in the 70s, but there's not that many of them. You would struggle to fill Hampden with the amount of people that have got them in a UK context.
And you obviously need the right advice, and this is where SAS Scotland has been great, because you obviously collaborate with a lot of other, like there's the administrator who needs to set it up and all the rest of it. So that's really important to get the right advice from the word go.
Yeah.
I think it's important as well to understand about a SAS as you're the trustee. The ultimate success or failure falls on you. You make decisions on what's invested in. So I think that's the loopholes you have to jump through to make sure you're a suitable fit person to invest this money.
Yes.
It's not going to be right for everybody, right?
No, it's not right. And you need to have your trading business. So it's ideal for those younger generation that are maybe doing quite a lot of flips. A lot of the guys that Stephen works with, I see some of these boys and they're doing really well through other things that we're involved in, and they're paying a load of tax on corporation tax when they could put it in a pension and go and buy other things with it. So that's probably an area where some of the younger generation could think, a bit smarter at shielding my wealth legally and with a privilege of a roll on through the generations, right? So that's quite good. So I moved my money across, Nick.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break, guys, from today's show to talk about selling your property with Prime Property Auctions. Now, myself and Stephen have both used John and Lewis from Prime in the past, and we can personally vouch for their service. They sell vacant and tenanted property, and you get to control the minimum reserve price so that you're not selling your property for peanuts. They pay for all the stuff like photos, videos, and all the marketing stuff up front, so you're not paying anything from the start, and it's a no sale, no fee. So if you want to check out Prime Property Auctions, then get across to the link on the show notes and speak to the guys. And when did you start using it then?
2020. Moved it across in 2020. And I immediately then just placed it into exchange traded funds, right? And
what's that, stock market?
Stock market. And I had some money in the stock market, and then I made a couple of commercial loans out as well on first charge. So I gave it a bit of balance. But the stuff that I do in the stock market is timing the market, not timing, not gambling, just putting into like Vanguard or BlackRock or something like that. Very low cost instruments that when you look at performance over a good number of years, you can see steady growth, not stellar.
What are you hoping to get percentage?
I think the stock market stuff for me, my risk profile in there, touching 10, sub 10.
That's good though.
I think is reasonable. But you can see the performance of these over a good number of years. And it's just park and forget strategy, and have a kind of core and satellite approach for that, where you get a little bit invested in stuff that's relatively passive, and then some of the more active ones where you do a wee bit of stock picking and a wee bit of analysis. So I've enjoyed that, which has been quite good. Some of the stuff's taken off in the last few years where a wee bit of money in Tesla and things like that, where no get huge exposure. But you can see that just helps build your pot up and just leave it and reinvest it. I did some loans, commercial property loans, so almost like being the bank.
See, your loans, that's interesting, right? So who are you lending to? People that you know, or just randoms? Or
Definitely people I know, no randoms. Get a lot of randoms trapping on the door, especially at garages and stuff like that. You lend the money, mate. No, Stevie will have that as well. No, I get there's a few guys that I've known over the years. A couple of younger guys down south that I know pretty well. That did a couple of first charge loans with them where they were doing shops in England and uppers,
right?
And it was like 2 shops getting split into 3.
And let's just talk about that first charge as well for, again, people who are trying to understand this terminology. When we're talking about loans, it's like the lenders, right? They're looking for the first charge, even if you're doing a buy-to-let, the first charge security, as they call it.
Yeah.
That is when, if the property gets repossessed, the lender's got first dibs at selling it off and getting the money back. Is that an okay way to put it?
Essentially, you want to be prudent, commercial and secure, right? So make sure you're investing in something that you can see and touch and there's a proper valuation against it that describes the various scenarios that could come into play.
How much due diligence do you do on the investment and the opportunity itself when you're lending your SAS funds out to these guys?
So I've been fortunate, Stephen, that I've done a master's in surveying. So I'm usually pretty hot on valuation, and I'll play with CoStar as well and have a look. It's only commercial.
CoStar is a commercial valuation tool on like a software, is it?
It's a software that the trade use,
right?
And it records sales, lettings, stuff that's for sale. So it's where surveyors will get comparable evidence from.
It's like a Rightmove Plus for
it's quite expensive.
Commercial.
It's where they'll get commercial evidence of transactions from. So having access to play with that through a broker business, then that allows me to do a wee bit of analysis in the background to say, yeah, I believe this, and I'll phone a couple of valuers as well just to test the GDV. So if I'm lending to anybody, it's got to have a proper RICS-based survey, and I'll specify the market value special assumptions that I want to see, which will be what is vacant possession, what's 90 day, what's 180 day, just the way a lender would do it. Yeah. And some of the younger guys are maybe a wee bit nervous. Some things might take 18 months to get done and stabilised, and they don't want to bridge and then re-bridge. Whereas if you can take an approach and say, right, I'm happy to give you that fund there for a commercial return on a first charge basis, and they've usually got a wee bit of money in. So the first one I loaned to down south, near the Manchester area, a couple of lads that I'd worked with before. I knew their dads and stuff, and they had a wee bit of cash to go in. They were wanting some money, and it was 2 shops being converted into 3. Pre-lets agreed, it was a no-brainer, right? But COVID times had hit, and folk were a bit worried about, banks and where they were going to get money, and then they were converting the upper parts to residential. So I did the loan, and then they banged me out when they got to the shops done, let up, refied away. Refinanced away.
You're a terrible guy for talking abbreviations, man.
Did they have to pay your SAS back before they got the residential aspect to the project done then?
So we'd agreed that, and there was a product that we'd allowed them to take it to a position where, if you look at the tax manual, it gives you a definition of when something is residential, right? When it's got a completion certificate. So if they've got stuff in and it's not yet fully hooked up, they then moved to a finish and exit product with somebody else to get it done, and then onto a term basis on the flats above. It's a cracking wee project to work on. And I learned a lot from it.
And what are you looking for out of that? What are you wanting as a return? Did you agree a fixed?
Yeah, there was a 10% return that was there, which if you look at it, I didn't have huge arrangement fees or mad, fees for exit or anything like that. It was just a case of pay the valuation, pay our lender legals, and I'm not going to a magic circle lawyer. We're going, someone that's a little bit, straight and commercial and no over the top for them. So we've done that, and the lads were in and out in time, and I thought it was great.
You got your money back with 10%?
Got money back with the interest paid at the back end, and they refinanced away successfully.
Like you say, you'd have learned a lot from that project as well, and seen them complete that inside.
I did, Stephen, and what I enjoyed about it as well was, I thought it was actually quite a good use of my pension scheme to see younger guys, SMEs, that were adding to their own wealth and adding to the economy, who didn't quite feel bank ready and were a bit worried about, do I go to a bridge and then another bridge and like all these fees building up and first timers, but they had the drive in them. So I quite enjoyed that. And then back to a few other bits and pieces as well. Fortunately, we haven't had anything go wrong because I'm going in with first charge and I'm usually doing a fair wee bit of due diligence at the back end of it.
Cool. So obviously you're lending this money out, but then there must be something that kind of clicks in you that go, wait a minute, I could be using this money a wee bit better here. So when did that start, and when did you start taking control of doing your own projects effectively? And what was the kind of change that happened?
Well, I was starting to have a good look around. I'd always been a wee bit of a resi guy and we'd bought bits and pieces of commercial stuff over the years. And I was buying wee shops at 30 grand, right, cash, and then getting them let up, selling them on for 60 to local pension schemes, Chamber of Commerce and stuff like that. You get to know a few guys in there that have got their schemes that want to buy something to their SIP fully let, they didn't want the hassle. So wee things like that over the years were pretty decent, right? And I thought,
like South Lanarkshire?
Aye, around Hamilton. Motherwell, Lanarkshire's my kind of hunting ground and I kind of stay close to there. So I did a wee bit of that over the years. But I started to see the fiscal regime in Scotland and England where I was working at the time just get really quite punitive on us for longer term holds. And,
we're talking about buy-to-let here.
Buy-to-let and resi, yeah. And I was thinking, I need to start getting more weight into the commercial side because it was easier, I think, but perceived to be difficult from others. So,
have you turned your back on residential now?
No, I would never. I bought a free in the last year or so.
All right.
So just some additional wee ones to add in. I still think you can do a great job there and provide great homes. A lot of us do that and buy with a wee bit of discount, do them up and then just hold for the long term, because long term they will return, but it's getting harder and harder, isn't it? And like sometimes you say, with the fiscal regime and all shades of government, don't get me started on elections today, is the juice
you put your vote in yet?
I'm going to spoil the paper. is the juice worth the squeeze? Sometimes with it. I think there's still great opportunities in Scotland for those that want to go in and add value and flip. And I'm seeing quite a lot of, just from other things we're involved in, folks perhaps having the opportunity to buy portfolios where I think there's hidden value. But that side of things I felt was getting more difficult, Nick. So I then turned my attention to say, I've got a pot here, got some of it out, some of it.
Can you give us an idea how much your pot is, or is that too personal? Just say if it's like...
well, it's big enough.
Just, what I want to know is because a lot of people will be sitting thinking, right, okay, I've got a pension fund, I've got a pension with my employer, but how much do I need to make this work? Do you know what I mean? To make
rather than talk about size of the fund, right? I'll maybe talk about the project that we did that wasn't horrendously expensive, and you could see people doing something similar, either their own fund or working with another.
Because people see these things and they it's like you said. I think you said in a previous podcast, the great thing about going around the projects is you can actually see the numbers, the physically being there in the rooms and seeing how it all works. And you're like, for me, it's like I could actually. This is reachable for me. Aye. This is this is within my grasp.
So our little Hamilton story, I think, would resonate with others, because I've been to some of the bigger places that went round and you'd be looking at 2.5 million ticket prices to buy these, and folk are getting a wee bit frightened when you look at the scale of some of the...
Yeah, well, like the Neil Mondays up in Stirling, that's a bigger beast. That's taking it to a different level.
Yeah, 500,000 on the way in for Neil and then 1.6 million do up, so 2.1 million out, a lot of dough. Whereas mine's was maybe at the other end of the scale. So I had seen this building in Hamilton that from the front looked like tenements, but it had been offices since 1976. And I'd missed out on a couple of things with a couple of the agents, just a wee bit too late in the game, or folks were paying daft money. And the agent phoned me up and says, Stephen, I think this is for you. I'll let you get in early bird. You go and see it first with me. And I went to see it, met the guy, and the guy that owned it had done flooring for me in one of my flats. So immediately I thought I'd definitely paid him in time. He was all right. It's a cup of tea and stuff. We had a chat and I was like, what are you looking for? And he's like, somebody to buy it that's going to follow through. I don't want loads of tire kickers that will come in and I know you. So make us an offer. So we made the offer. I did my valuation at the back end and felt I was getting it for fair price, right? So imagine 2 blocks that look like 2 tenement blocks. Converted to offices in 1976 and hadn't been touched since then. And those 2 blocks have 9 big suites each. So 18 suites plus loft spaces that could be developed with a car park at the rear.
Was this already offices?
It was offices, aye.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But dreadful. I'm talking salmon pink walls,
Run down.
stairs that were hanging together.
Like painting.
Toilets all blocked all the time.
Aye.
That dirty that the rats had boiler suits, it wasn't that great. The market rent of 40 grand. But I could see that others were doing the serviced office model in area and had all the numbers. And I thought, I can make a right go at this. And then Derek and I had been wanting to collaborate on a deal because the two of us had got known one another for a wee while and similar values and stuff. I'd phoned him offshore and he's like, I'm on night shift, mate.
This is Derek
McGrory,
Derek McGrory, which again, he doesn't put himself out there too much, but I've known Derek since I think 2000, probably about 10 years now. He came on my radar because I was looking back because his name kept popping up with you coming on podcasts and all that. I was like, Derek, I've bumped into him a couple of times, don't know him. I looked in my Facebook messages. I see that we started messaging each other back in 2015.
Aye.
So
he's been in the game for a good number of years and done really well with commercial investments. He bought a place in Newcastle, 250 grand, spent 30 grand on it. It's just been revalued just shy of 500. And he raised the rent from like 25 to 48 grand. So he's a wee asset management ninja, right? But quiet, doesn't he shout about it? Just goes in, looks after the tenants, makes the improvements and cranks things up. So I thought this is a great guy to work with. So this thing we were buying for 380,000 quid, a valuation of 400. So I knew I had a wee bit of money in the way in. And
is this all let? Sorry, is this let?
Partly let at the time,
let.
but the market rent would have been 40 grand. I think we were collecting them at 30 at the time, right? Because there was some vacancies in it. But I thought that's great, we can get them turned. So we bought it, but we decided with the guy that we're selling it, we just want to split the title for us. He's like, I ain't bother as long as you're buying it and I'm getting the money I'm looking for. And the reason why I decided to collaborate with Derek there and split the title was it meant avoid paying the Scottish government quite as much LBTT.
Okay.
So if I'd bought it at that price, it would have been 7 and a bit grand as a one lump. Splitting it, I think we paid about 250 quid.
Plus, it makes it easier as a partnership.
You just get one block each.
One block each with a shared car park, right? And then jointly brand it, and we used the same contractors and stuff to get it done up. So we bought it, caught our breath, put in for planning for the loft spaces as well, and we're holding it in each SAS, right? So imagine mine then, 180 grand, 18 grand market rent. I've invested 70,000 in it, which takes me about 250k out.
That's in the refurb.
70 grand refurb, 180 to buy. So I'm 250 in the whole, all cash in the SAS. So bought it completely in there. Somebody's doing something similar, they could use somebody else's SAS as a loan or, a private investor and bridge off it. Then what we've done is we completely refurbed it, but didn't go over the top with the refurbishment. Nice colours, lovely lighting, old cornices all painted, new doors, etc. Great secure entry, super fast broadband, easy in, easy out. And then I started chatting on doors. And Facebook, people that I know in area that were in other places just started messaging them. And we started letting up really quite quickly. So I'm like, this seems as though it's going too well.
What research did you do into knowing that these could be good spaces that you could let out? How did you know that the deal was going to work at the back end? Because obviously you need to do your numbers on how much I can get for that space.
So what a couple of tips then for people, and I think these are a great town centre regeneration exercise, right? And a great use of my pension scheme to provide space for small to medium-sized enterprises that are perhaps start-ups in their business. I think that's a great story, right? And we make a return, and they're doing well. How did we know it was going to work? A couple of things that I was looking at as lenses: strategy, location, capital, and talent. If I can fuse the four of them together. Strategy was small spaces, right? location, secondary market town, not in Glasgow or Edinburgh, but in the surrounding environs where you get a good population and good transport links. That's going to work. Amazon-proof tenant base.
What kind of tenants are we talking about here?
So, accountancy practice, tattooist,
Right.
physio.
You got one?
No. Physio, massage, hairdresser,
Right.
nails, eyebrow tattoos, permanent eyebrow. I tell you what, that and Botox is what I want to get into next. And we've got a private GP clinic,
Right.
and who's just got a license, and they do Botox as well. So if anybody's going to get that, you're as well going to a GP for it.
And their businesses are all doing well on the face of it? Like
Thriving, yeah.
Great.
So we've had, so we did the place up. So where have I lifted my rent then? So I've lifted my rent from 18 grand in mine, and a wee bit more in Derek's, right? 20 grand. It's 38 grand passing rent. We've lifted that rent combined between us to 122,000.
wow.
Some jumping.
Some uplift.
But that's fair, Stephen. That's spaces that are competing with the market from 450 for the smaller rooms up to 730. But if you're in there as an operator doing high value stuff, like it may be 300 quid for an eyebrow tattoo visit, I don't know, they charge quite well. So it's a small operational cost for them with all their bills paid.
Let's just talk about, obviously you're quite good on this, all the valuation stuff, because you did the course and the qualification.
Yeah.
And you've got access to all this software and all the rest of it. When we're talking about valuation, people need to get their heads around this as well. When it comes to commercial valuations, it's valued on the rent income.
Yeah,
right?
So they will look at comparable evidence, see what other people are getting. So what a surveyor will look at is, right, what is the yield in the local area that we can see transactions passing at? And, you know, for secondary market towns like Hamilton, Motherwell, Wishaw, where we are, 10% is a reasonable expectation, right? Which means it's a 10 multiple on rent. Would be, in Glasgow, maybe a bit sharper because of locational drivers. And if you've got a lease with, you know, a big bank, then you're going to have a low yield because it's the certainty of income. If you're doing the stuff that I'm doing, it's a little bit harder to say that those guys are going to be there for 25 years, but I'll fill it, right?
It's a little bit more risk.
Yeah.
So that 120 odd grand, our running costs each between us are about £1,000 a month, right? So call it £2,000 out. We're breaking back to a net operating income now in the 90s.
Brilliant.
Right, so
how many spaces have you got in each section in the individual spaces?
9 in each section.
Right, aye.
So that's 90,000 per year.
That's good.
Net. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, over 90 net, yeah.
So this is how they value it in the end, to get the value at the back end, as you call it.
Yeah.
So what is the value now?
Well, we've been offered $1 million to sell it.
Wow. And you bought it for 380.
Bought it for 380 and we
you put
spent
70.
We spent 150 between us doing it up.
And the beauty of the SAS is if you did sell it for £1 million, it's tax free, is that right?
So, but what we're doing at the minute is we're holding it in the SAS, right? Paying the SAS market rent from our operating companies. So imagine I'm holding that building and I'm paying the SAS the market rent as measured by an independent RICS surveyor.
40 grand a year.
Yeah, we're paying that. And then the operating company is making a turn on the outside. And it's very similar. If I have an MOT station in my pension scheme and I operate an MOT business on the outside, then I make my trading income on the outside and I pay my pension a fair rent. So
the pension's winning when your trading company's winning as well.
Yeah, and that's where I have differentiated for some of the guys that might be a wee bit more passive, Nick, and that just, I'll buy a shop with somebody in it and collect rent. I'm thinking, no, I want to buy a building that I'm going to have a trading business legitimately renting from my SAS at the back end, right? So we're making, you know, let's call it 95 grand, 47 and a half each, just making numbers up.
Yeah.
Take 18 off that, it's 30 grand outside, 18 grand inside. 18 grand in the pension, 30 odd outside the pension scheme.
That's building up inside your pension pot.
Inside and outside, yes.
Yes,
You
and
can't-
then into the training company, you can put that back into your SAS and not pay tax on that income as well, and keep building that pot back
That
up.
trading business is another adhere the business to our pension schemes, right? So got a principal, sponsor, and employer, then you can add other businesses in. So this is where it gets really interesting when I start talking about hotels and stuff like that.
Wait a minute, right? So when this is brilliant stuff. I mean, when you get to the point of retirement age where you can start drawing on the pension, would you then start extracting some of that rent out to live off then? Is that the idea?
My intention is never to touch my pension scheme. I'm never going to draw from it. It's going to build up in perpetuity.
Legacy to the family.
And that's the we're trying to build it and grow it.
How are you going to live though, and keep your Ferrari serviced and all that?
Well, there's nuances there that trading businesses outside of it.
That's why you've set that
are where you can create wealth that are good. So if I look at my own personal economy, right?
Yeah.
There's a nice number coming in from legacy resi stuff that I've got. A 4-figure clear sum.
The buy to let.
Aye. And then out of these things here, there's money building up.
Okay, cool. What if, I mean, that's a phenomenal deal. Now,
brilliant.
The question I've got for you as well is, you bought it cash with the pension fund money. Now that you've got that uplift in value, so is the plan to do a refinance and use more money or equity to go and do more deals?
We could refinance it, yeah. Sitting unencumbered at the minute. Derek's other stuff's unencumbered. Could refi it, but we've still got a fair bit of dry powder, firepower, sitting cash to do other stuff. And that's where I decided last year that we would create a fund of fund approach. So there's 4 of us collaborating on larger developments.
And this is where the brand comes in. So you formed this brand, what's it called? House.
Yeah.
So this is more for the moving forward with the part hotel projects, is it?
So there's two key real estate strategies that we're pursuing in there at the minute. One would be these serviced offices that Hamilton has proved has done well, and there's some other cracking guys in our wider community.
Do you think that could come saturated, like in the near future, in the next couple of years, without all these guys doing this now?
Surely the bigger offices that are closing up shop, that are no longer viable to hold these huge units, are going to become. They go smaller. They're going to need smaller spaces. I think the opposite way is going to go.
I think Stephen's hit it in the head.
Did it used to be that these traders used to have? It used to be like they had to have high street premises, and that's not necessary anymore. Is that kind of changed? Where's the shift?
Maybe an element of that, or I give you a use case. We've got an accountancy practice in there who had 3 buildings on full repair and insuring leases, which were long-term obligations. Half his folk are working from home. Decided to, right, I need a working base that's a bit more flexible, easy in, easy out. So I think that there's maybe a dynamic shift in the market for that. As I've said, I believe all ships rise with the tide. There's room in our town centres for regeneration. And some of the stuff that Stephen's developed, are amazing spaces. I think if you build the right quality, folk will come to you. There's a load of crap out there that are charging high rents that I wouldn't rent.
Yeah. See, one thing that I doubt that goes through my head with the commercial, I'm going to do this, by the way. I've signed the SAS.
Yeah.
It's set up, paid the money, getting the money in. I'm going to buy a building, which I'm going to operate out of.
Brilliant.
The rest of the space I'm going to let out. So it's going to come. Where my kind of doubts on, me, like kind of like a lot of negativity and all the rest of it, and like, oh, what if that? What if this? And my doubt in my mind was that, what's the kind of risk factor? So like for me with the buy-to-lets, it's very, very low risk because you know what the demand and supply imbalance is. You put a flat on the market, you've got 50 people in the first week. Do you know what I mean? You've got a choice of 10 tenants straight away. For me, it seems like you need to work a bit harder, obviously, get your spaces filled. Obviously, it's a lot more exposed to the economy as well, because it's people's businesses, like, are people spending money to get their nails done, all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. So what's the kind of, when you're kind of profiling that, are you thinking, right, what if these spaces don't work out or we can't get them let? What's the kind of fallback?
I'll always go to a town where there is competition, right? Because I can see that the stuff there is a decent size. I think Scotland needs more entrepreneurs, right? And one of the things that I look at, Nick, is I do a regression analysis, very mathematical, right? So I look at all the rents being paid in my area that I'm targeting and surrounding areas to see what the rate per square foot is and how I can beat that. And we'll beat it in the areas that we're involved in.
Just trying to offer a different service or a better service.
You're competing with, you're offering, because you said before in our podcast that you're not VAT registered or something like that, so you can bring it in a bit cheaper than other competitors like Regis and...
Yeah, it depends what your building is, whether it's elected for VAT or not, but that one in Hamilton's not VAT registered and we're split. I'm doing one, Derek's doing one, right? So we're under thresholds there, and it would be a fair bit of growth to get to threshold. So getting back to what I was saying, so there's how do we work out whether it's going to work or not? I think you've got to believe it's going to work. You've got to do your research first, right? Is there demand in the area where you can test it? You can put Facebook ads out coming soon and stuff like that and see what demand's like. Speak to some of the local agents who I've found have been quite helpful. You know, some of the guys...
I think you've just got to go for it. So like you say, I think you've just got to go for it, because otherwise you'll just get paralysed in the what if that... We both know Brightstone guys.
They're doing incredibly
Chris
well.
and Andrew.
Chris smashing.
And you go up to that building right at the start, which you hosted the event at, and you think, shit, man, how are they going to... This is in Falkirk. How are they going to fill this space? They've literally let out the whole thing, pretty much. I think they've got working on the top level now. Great
boys, pioneers, right? You know, they went in there and people would be a bit nervous, but when I bought the one in Hamilton, folk were saying, what's he doing that for?
Aye.
But we had a secondary escape that it could be converted back to resi if needed with that one there. And some of the older buildings that we're buying have multiple different kind of strategies that you could employ from.
I suppose your bare minimum is your risk. I'm looking at it from the outside, is if your trading business just had to find 18 grand to pay your pension, that's the bare minimum. If you if that's only 3 or 4 rooms let, it's only 40-50% occupancy, it's not 100% occupancy. Looking at the demand, you're going, fuck, we can easily fill that.
Aye. And now where I'm at is because we've tried to curate decent folks that are not competing with one another. They're all cross-referring. So I can see like the hairdressers are sending folks to the nail bar, and the accountancy guy's got quite a bit of demand that's coming in, as well. I find
that really interesting. Like, we got a hairdresser in we were one on Rosyth a few months ago, and she found the other 3-4 tenants, and it was like, the lassie's she's doing nails, and she's doing, what is it, welded tattoos, a new one.
Aye.
So you're like, fucking hell, the first tenant's giving us another 3 tenants. You're like, wow, they want to collaborate.
You put a coffee machine in as well, didn't you?
A cracking coffee machine.
Right,
so $2.5 bloody grand.
Oh, right.
But I love it, right? But punters love it as well when they come in. And then, some of the agents you see are a wee bit dyed in the wool. Don't answer the phone, right? And then the ones that you do speak to, Derek and I had a shop that was coming back to us on the corner in there. Beautiful dual aspect, exposed stone walls. Phoned up one of the agents, quite snooty, have a wee go at letting this for me. It'll be on the market for over a year. We did lay up in 3 weeks. Split the shop, right? Cut it in half. And got it the right size.
Do you think the whole commercial space needs shaking the fuck up when you see this stuff?
What is your tips? Because you were like, for that building, I don't know, did you say at the start there that the guy phoned you up or something like that and says, Stevie, do you want to have a look at this or something?
Aye.
What's it, for people like myself, entry getting in there? Like, I went to a viewing the other day and I felt awkward because I didn't really know what I was talking about, and I'm in there and I'm trying to build up a relationship with the agent, but you could tell he's looking at me, and I guess it didn't help that I turned up in shorts and t-shirts and all that, do you know what I mean? But I'm like, God, how do I go on this guy's level, because it can be quite intimidating.
Yeah.
So has that just come with experience? Like,
I think if you give them a phone and you're honest enough and tell them, look, pension buy, I'm looking to get this is my kind of target area. Have you got anything? When to see a few things in the viewings, they get to know you're serious. And what we also did with that one is I just showed him proof of funds, right?
Yeah.
Which could be my funds or somebody else's funds.
Time.
And he went, right, okay, he's a player. So the other lad that was selling the thing didn't want it widely advertised either, because like sometimes folk think his business is failing, he's banging out, he's selling. And it was done that way. And then
you can also wobble the tenants that are inside the building as well. They might get upset and go, I'm fucking leaving. And I'm assuming if they're reducing the rental income from it, it devalues the building and what it could be sold for.
And our air project was off market. So the 2 lenses that I'm looking at then, right, are, will it work as a serviced office? And then the other trading business that I'm doing is hotel space. And I think Scotland needs more of it. Proper, nice, beautiful boutique style hotel that you ain't going to charge an arm and a leg for, but people are going to get a great experience.
This is not traditional hotels though, is it? This is...
No, I'm not talking about, you know, getting down for
Come down
breakfast
for breakfast and that.
Aye.
Right.
So,
self-contained.
yes, and what I've seen with that is the opportunities that are in the market are government driven, right? So where are folks staying right now if they're going to be at the Edinburgh Festival? Because the whole of the Airbnb market's been taken out of the game. You know, with the licensing regime.
That's very interesting. I would love to know how many people have actually, who are letting out the properties over the festival, actually even applied for the license.
Yeah, most people haven't.
So where are those guys going to stay? Which then leaves an opportunity with Scottish Youth Class 7, which is guest house and hotel, which is SAS compliant as well. So there's a couple of things you're tying together saying, where can I deploy my pension into something that I can get a trading business at the other side of? Okay, that's an idea. So then, because I'd been involved at the couple of the big banks and commercial banking operations, seen a lot of valuations over the years, and what I always found was that some of these larger licensed trading operations, that they're valued on a profits basis, right? So they're valued on a multiple of the earnings that they can generate. So I'm thinking there's an arbitrage opportunity here. So got the four of us together last year, guys that I've known for years, who've got their own pension schemes, who've got a few quid. Me.
These are friends of yours?
Friends of mine, yeah. Long-term friends, right? Me, Derek, Peter, who I've worked with before, a few times worked in the banks. Ian's a good pal of mine, football player down south. And we're all at career points of inflection. Like, I'm not getting any younger. Derek's wanting to get off the rigs at some point. Ian's not got that many more seasons left to play, testimonial year down south. And Peter's turning 40 as well. So we're all thinking, what do we do? So collaborating to really compound and get a couple of our own spaces off the ground, and then attract some sports and business equity participation and take it to scale is where we're at.
What does that mean? Sports equity?
So just through our own personal networks, right? We've got quite a lot of people that we know in professional business and in professional sport, right? Who may be keen to work with us in the future, because our own equity is going to run dry.
Aye. But it's great that you're showcasing these projects, because this is your kind of like, these are the case studies. This is what we've done. It works.
Yeah. And
come on in.
So I bought Coatbridge, right? Beautiful big building. Last year we went and got it under offer. It was on the market. It's about 4,000 square feet, sandstone villa, huge rooms, amazing original features, cornice, and I've got a bit of a thing for old buildings.
And what was this?
A lawyer's office.
Right.
They'd had it since 1964 and had not decorated since 1964, because we lifted the carpets and found a daily record underneath it. But you want to see the tiling work in it and some of the original features. Right, 12-bedroom hotel, 250 grand buy, 1.2 million end valuation.
Wow. So this is going to be an apart hotel, or is in the making? We've
stripped it out. Right. We bought it in February with planning, stripped it out, and we're waiting on building warrant, which I keep hearing every week.
And who's going to Coatbridge on holiday?
Well, this is where build it no come.
Aye.
Who's your market for that?
There's an amazing market in that area. There is a 4-star hotel in the town with 85% occupancy. If you're in the surveying world and in the know, you can find out what's going on. There's a hospital nearby, University Teaching Hospital.
Aye.
Close proximity to M8, two train stations connected to both Glasgow and Edinburgh, and you would describe it as Greater Glasgow.
That's my point. You've got to think a wee bit out the box. Do you know what I mean? Because people will be thinking, right, okay, like getting these rooms on Airbnb or Booking.com. It's not just people coming on holiday. It's not just holiday lets. People think traditional holiday lets, but there's plenty of other people wanting this type of accommodation.
So drive round some of the hotels in those areas and round about here, and what do you see? Trade vans.
Vans parked out, absolutely, 100%. Last night, we, every month, are at the Village Hotel, doing our networking event. couldn't get in the car park for vans everywhere.
Yeah. So I think there's a really good trade opportunity during the week. Loads of stuff going on, wind farms, MA, infrastructure works, vaccine stuff and plants and things like that are on the go up here that people don't really know a lot about. You do your research, you think, there's a good go at this. The surveyor does the analysis for you and says, okay, and I've done it all. Greater Glasgow area is trading at 85% with an average day rate of 120 odd. As long as I keep myself under their day rate and under that occupancy and it make it work, then my multiple on profit on the projected GDV is 8, right? So an 8x on the profit is around valuation. So our risk management are we buying it under value? Yes. Because it was committing to valuation, it was under value. Are we going to get a decent GDV at the back end? Yes. I think that's a good number. Can we manage the construction risk in there to deliver?
That was going to be my next question, was how are you finding the development with the rise in labour and materials at the moment? Is that the challenge? So
that's where we're at the minute, is just waiting on the building warrant coming through, and with a first round of fundraising to get our money matched to get the purchase done, and then I'm going back for a second tranche. But I think I'm going to be within like a 70% loan to GDV, Stephen.
Nice.
Where we're at, we've budgeted for a good number per room in terms of the development cost, and I've got comparable evidence from, because like your pals share things with you. Neil, we were up there the other day, was very, very open.
Great.
Spent this, spent this. And Neil got that done for 1,000 a metre. And the QS that he emptied told him it was going to cost him 2.8 million. So you get a lot of that as well. And you'll see with your refurbs and stuff, people will maybe perhaps overprice it. We could go to a trades model and do it that way if the main contractor stuff's going to be too frothy. But we believe, in the QS that we've got believes that we can do it within the funding envelope that we've got.
And where's that extra money coming from to complete that project then? Is that development finance bridging or...
No, we've done that through a SAS syndicate.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so we put our own money in,
Aye.
Day one, like 50% loan to value, and then there was a top-up come in to get it bought, and then there's a second tranche. And that's some people that have indicated they'd be quite keen to work with us on a first charge basis.
Right.
Who've
does it work for your security, or is your security at risk then if you... suppose the risk is on you then if you've bought it with your own...
Yeah, you're going to get bumped.
They're going to get first charge over the... But I suppose they've got the biggest development... The development cost is going to be the biggest part of it, and the riskier part. But I mean, you've done your due diligence up front. You've done all your...
I think that's great. Just opening your eyes up to, traditionally I've always thought, geez, if you're going into that kind of sector, you need to be like by the hydro, or you need to be city centre in Glasgow, do you know what I mean, to get that occupancy rate. But seeing a lot of other guys in the network doing things in smaller kind of towns round about Glasgow and things working is great.
Yeah, so the Scottish Government, bless them, have gave us an opportunity, haven't they? Because they're saying, we don't want Airbnb, we want them all turned to buy-to-lets or whatever. Great, okay. Portfolios are now for sale. Folk are bailing out. So if you're in for the long term and you're not going to shit your pants, you'll say, some portfolios here, can I acquire them? How can then I turn it round to getting decent trading businesses in a contracting market? Well, it's commercial use class 7, and there's quite a lot of people afraid and scared of doing it. So if I look at...
Because it's planning and everybody thinks, planning
it's really complex, I'll never get funded.
Aye.
And if I look at maths, right, a standard deviation, right, if I look at a distribution curve, there's a big batch of people clustered around the middle that are all chasing resi. And then there's 3 standard deviations from the mean. You need to look that up, right? Which means a very small percentage at the outer end that are going doing the sexy stuff. So I'm in there. I want to be removed from the crowd and go and chase the truffles.
And going back to the legislation, the government stuff, obviously we've got the short-term licensing introduced in October, but that doesn't apply to... Does that apply when you get into class 7? No, you don't need any short-term licensing. No. You just need the change of use planning.
You've got the planning.
And once you've got that...
Plus you're avoiding your 6% ADS, so it does point in the right direction, that there's an opportunity there, doesn't it?
There's opportunities there for people, I think, to get tired guest houses. And like Scotland's tourism industry is a really good tourism industry. So we bought that one, and I bought another one in Ayr that came to me off market.
I've been to the Ayr one.
Wellington Square.
Aye.
Stunning building, right?
Is that like where the courthouses are, like in the middle bit?
Beautiful
from the
square.
beach.
330 grand, was valued at 375 on the way in, and partly let. I really liked it when the agent phoned me, and I was telling him we were buying other stuff, and he was doing some valuation for me in other places. He said, I've got this thing off market. Guy doesn't want to advertise it. He's retired, scared of spooking the tenants that are in there. And you can see why sometimes folk hang on, who's going to come into this, or is it going to get converted to housing? What's happening with my business? So it's got a lovely basement, which we're going to turn into 2 boutique hotel rooms, big, that will cater for the market. And then the upper parts are going to be like boutique serviced office. We got some visuals done last week, and I just put them on an Ayrshire business page, and like phones ringing up. We've 4 people out viewing this week.
Yeah.
Hairdresser wanted to take one of the wings potentially, and in a wellness place, one of the other ones, because the address is stunning there. And when you get in the building, these old guys built them in 1818.
Beautiful buildings.
Put the compass on right on the phone just to see how the sun was perfect. It runs north south. Very, very plumb.
Aye.
Beautiful old building, private parking at the rear. I think it will do quite well. We've only got a few spaces to let, and it's full in the upper parts. And then it's just the conversion job on the basement. One of my biggest regrets about it is we've missed the open, because the council just took too long to give us the building warrant. We had this thing under offer last September. Subject to planning. Planning didn't come through in February, and then we're straight into building.
It'll come back again. You'll get it next time.
Get it next time when I'm properly retired.
It's Troon, isn't it?
Aye. Troon with the open is, aye.
Aye, July usually time. Well, a couple of weeks. I was there for that event, and I was, again, it's stuff that I look at and go, geez, this is not like, multi-million pound stuff. This could be
within
in reach.
Yeah,
330 grand. So you buy a few of them and do a Hamilton Mark II. You start to see, okay, we can make a few quid at this, and it's just nice, under the radar investing. So where are we going next then?
Aye, where's your goal with this? And obviously you can bring in your plug for the business that you've set up as well.
Which one?
I know, as if you've not got enough going on.
So we've got, I think our next one is probably going to be something bigger, some private equity in there. Where do we want to take it? We want to take it to scale, probably across UK and England. You want to be in this position where maybe 20, 25 million GDV is where you want to get to at the back end of it, and you go large.
Systemizing.
Like Stephen's a great believer in doing stuff at scale for what I've seen with your stuff. If you get one buy to let, you're going to struggle when things go wrong. If you get a bigger portfolio, helps. Similarly with this here, this could be a buy and build and sell at some point, and trade it on, or just create.
Which is why you've created the brand, obviously, so that it can become
house, yeah.
HAU
umlaut SS, it's trademarked.
Right.
It's got a wee smile on it, the U. So that's the brand that we're going to roll out there. We've got a couple of opportunities we're looking at the moment in Scotland. One kind of overlooking a nice marina. Don't need to give away West Coast or East Coast, but overlooking a nice marina. Rooms, food, beverage, award-winning food, retirement sale, off-market. That would be a lovely one to buy and put a general manager in and start scaling. There are some people that I see around Scotland that have got some amazing offers, and I think there's room for others that can come in and create something similar. So we want to do a bit more of that, and I think that's coming from some of the professional sports equity money that we're looking to work with, and that would be on them having a shareholding in the project to get forward. And then the other thing that I've been doing, get fed up with brokers that were too slow, didn't have a clue. I could value better than them, and I knew the product better. We decided this year, just for the amount of time I spent in banking, to open a brokerage which is doing 3 things essentially. Real estate, from bridging, on resi, commercial, term mortgages, development finance. That arm's been going pretty well. Asset finance, from soft furnishings right through to heavy yellow plant, HGVs and things like that. That's been really quite busy. Done a lot of transit vans. I seem to be Mr. Transit Van at the minute. And we're doing a ship. A guy phoned us for the Highlands. We'd done some stuff for his daughter previously. He'd said, I'm looking to buy some more HGVs. Can you get him them? Yeah, got him really good rate on them. He's like, I've got a ship in build. I'm thinking, I'm going back 30 years here to shipyards again. A small vessel in build. Can you get him onto a marine mortgage? Fascinating. So we're helping them with that. So it's things like that. Neil Munday, who you were up at last week, we did all the soft furnishings financed in there. And then the other side that we're doing is business loans, secured and unsecured. So Futurity Finance is the name of the company. I can hardly say the bloody word, but Futurity.
And are you the sole director for that?
No, there's 4 of us in it.
All right.
4 brokers. We're hiring another couple in England.
Right.
And I'm the regulated individual on it.
Okay.
CF1.
You've got a few letters at the end of your name, haven't you? You've done all sorts, haven't you?
I'm quiet, mate. I don't shout.
No, but you've got the surveying qualification
and stuff, and I've done engineering, but that's
the FC. What's it called? FSC. What do you need to have to be? What accreditation do you need to have be a broker?
Well, we're through the FCA.
FCA,
regulated through the Financial Conduct Authority.
Aye, so you have to register.
Proper.
Aye, so your business had to be registered by the FCA. Aye.
Yeah, so we've got authorised and regulated by the FCA.
Yeah.
And we're an authorised representative of various funds, etc. So I'm enjoying that. That's going quite well. Doing a lot in real estate, a lot under value bridging in there, which is great, getting folks 90% of their purchase price. Really like working with some of the younger guys that are coming through who are phoning up for a bit of advice. Phone's always on, whether we help them or no is good. But I like the asset side as well, because that's where you're seeing businesses that are growing. Guys phoning you up, I need 4 vans on the road in a month, mate, can you help me? And there's one that we're working on at the moment, which is an absolute cracker, which is a bus company down south, got a contract with a Premier League club, and they're wanting one of these buses delivered that's all kitted out with physio stations and stuff, like 700 grand. So trip to Holland to tie up the deal with the manufacturer and then get that funded for the lad. So
interesting.
No,
it's
I'm
good,
enjoying
it's
it, mate.
exciting.
It's giving me a wee bit of a buzz.
Quite varied, that, isn't it? From ships to Premier League football coaches.
We'll fund anything, mate. Helicopters, aeroplanes, no matter what, anything will get funded.
Fantastic. Right, so you can reach out to Stephen. What's the best route to contact you? Email or Facebook?
I'm on Facebook. I don't do a lot on Instagram. There's pictures of odd Italian cars and maybe my granny in the old folks' home smiling. That's about it on Instagram. Instagram's
more traditional style. Just go to the website.
Website. And
what's it?
Futurity. Futurity finance.co.uk. My plug. It's 60 minutes here.
Oh, that's for a minute all the time. We'll need to finish there, guys.
Stephen at that address with a PH. Right. No. I'm very happy to speak to folk if they're looking for a wee bit.
Listen, guys, I've been to Stephen's events, SAS Scotland, and it took him a while to actually. He was running these for a long time without plugging anything. So, we don't grudge him. Certainly don't grudge him here for all the value that you've given us today, Stephen. So thanks very much for coming and sharing your journey as well and allowing people to kind of look at what's possible with SAS funding and the kind of stuff that you do.
I'm just a wee boy for a council scheme that's done okay, mate. That's it.
Brilliant.
Thanks a lot for joining us, mate. Appreciate it.
See you soon, boys. Cheers, thanks.
Cheers, thank you.